No,
So,
you're definitely back now.
yeah, it's working.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways,
Okay.
what about the English? Oh, sorry, my cat was begging me to come up.
Uh, my wife's just removed one of my cats from this room, so yeah. Cats interfere. I have one when I have classes because everything's online now. When they shut the door, there's one of my cats that doesn't like shut doors and meows very loudly. This cat's being removed.
Yeah, I have 4 over here, and yeah,
Yeah,
but this
this is
one,
almost
this one.
noisy.
Oh, they kind of look alike, don't they?
Yeah, this is Bonnie. This is Mahi. And there's a fat ginger one somewhere, but he's not bothering at the moment. These two are sisters. We had these first, and we got another one called Garfield, who's big, fat, and ginger. If my wife or sister-in-law managed to find, but yeah,
No, I have.
cats are always getting involved.
I have this one. His name is Lino. He comes from Visgolino, which means cross-eyed.
This is Garfield. He's a big boy.
That's a very good reason to call him Garfield.
Yeah, if it was fat and ginger, it's an obvious name.
It is. This one is my princess. Her name is Kisa. She's the only girl in the house, and her name means cat in Finnish.
They're all in here with me now.
I was not very creative when I gave her name. And the 2 others are probably in my room, just lying down on my bed because they're too lazy and fat.
Yeah,
they didn't really want to do anything.
The 2 girls, the first 2, were going to be called Bonnie and Clyde, so a pair of gangsters. But we found out Clyde was a girl a couple of days after we'd adopted, so I needed a girly name. So my wife and my sister-in-law named her after one of the Aristocats. And Garfield was an obvious name to pick. Not overly creative, but obvious.
You should have Thelma and Louise.
Could have been this. I think we'll probably get more cats at some point to give them different names.
Yeah,
but,
to be honest,
three's enough for now.
I am what people call a hoarder. So what can I do?
Yeah. For example, my wife didn't want the cats until the first 2 arrived. I wasn't even thinking about a 3rd one, but then she said, "Oh, there's a cat fair there's a hotel in Real Vermelho, or another neighbourhood close by. Bring the box in case we decide we want another cat." And we ended up, I saw Garfield, and I wanted to pick him up and stroke him because I let you. And I said, "No, you're not having him back, he's mine now." And then that's it.
We started with 3 because my ex-wife found a box with 6 of them, and there were 6, and they were 2 days old. Unfortunately, they even had their umbilical cords attached to them. 4 of them died during the process when we were trying to take them, and we kept them both, which are the 2 ones that are sleeping right there. One of them is Captain James Flint, or Sidney Flint. The other one is Musi van Mew, because for some reason I decided he was Dutch. And I had no reason to decide that, but he looks Dutch. When I look at him, I say, "Oh, that's a fucking Dutch."
Yeah.
I don't know where they are. I thought they were coming, but they're not.
So how many is it for?
We ended up with 4 because we had this little girl right here. We adopted her from a non-government. Fuck! What's going on with my brain? Anyway, an NGO. We got her. She was like antisocial. She didn't like people. She was very scared, but she liked my ex-wife a lot. And so we took her home too, with the same day that we took the 2 other ones. And the last one, he was in my house just temporarily because I was trying to find him a home. That's it, organization. I know it's organization, but I can't. I couldn't remember at the time.
Yeah.
But anyways, And the last one, I was taking care of him, trying to find him a home, but nobody wants to adopt the little boy. So I was keeping him and keeping him and keeping him. At some point, I just said, fuck it, he's mine.
He lives here now, probably.
Yeah, that's it. That's not. Well, he stayed here for over a year, so.
A thing that always used to happen with my grandma, there was loads of cats that just decided to live in a house. She didn't actually ever buy them. They just come in a house and decide to live there. That's antisocial behaviour. It's called squatting if humans do that. But it's acceptable behaviour for cats. So there was 2 cats that decided to live there when I was a child, when I was very small. Earliest memories. They had 2 cats. And then another 2 just decided to live there. She didn't go buy them or anything. They just decided, oh, old lady, I'll get my own way with an old lady. I stay here. And yeah.
You know what? I could live here. No, this is a nice place. There's food. There's other cats. I might as well stay. Whatever, you know?
Yeah. I don't think they like small kids that much, cats, normally. So I think they might run away to somewhere with kids and like, oh, it's just an old person. They'll let me sleep in peace all day. I think it's normally what it is.
Well, that's pretty much what they do all day.
Yeah.
There she is. She had her eyes closed for a while, but she decided to open them and look at me like she wanted them. Isn't it, love?
So yeah, they're all yours now.
What were we talking before?
I think I was just saying, I think Raul Seixas is my favourite Brazilian rock guy. That's what I said. Yeah. I think it was cutting out then. I think Mosca na Sopa is the best Brazilian song.
Oh yeah, it's a very Brazilian song, isn't it? It's
got the capoeira music in, mixed in with the rock.
It's kind of a mix of baião and rock and roll. There's another one by him called "Let Me Sing." I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah, I have.
He had
a lot of this.
Raul Seixas had a theory that Elvis Presley and what was the other one? It was Luis Gonzaga, which is
Gonzaga. Yeah, I like Gonzaga. Gonzaga's good. He has the coolest clothes ever, Gonzaga.
Yeah. So Raul Seixas had like a theory in which Luis Gonzaga and Elvis Presley were the same thing, and that song was kind of a way to prove it. You know, it's just like he played like baião, and then in the next part he just plays rock and roll, and then goes back to baião, and then goes back to rock and roll, and he keeps like interchanging them and showing that the rhythm is quite similar, and the tone of the music can be quite similar too. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, only Raul Seixas would have thought of that.
Yeah, probably, yeah. In his completely different mind than everyone else's, right?
I think that's kind of what's likable, because you see a lot of musicians, sometimes they're a bit sort of samey in a lot of ways. They don't seem to have the personality. He had a crazy sort of personality. He's sort of, I get the vibes of sort of Ozzy Osbourne, Keith Richards out of him. That he's just a complete maverick and completely crazy.
And you know, he used to like Aleister Crowley a lot too.
I don't know that. Aleister Crowley?
Yeah, you know the famous Aleister Crowley? The occultist kind of mythical thing that Jimmy Page used to like too.
There was some weird stuff Jimmy Page was into. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of the same cult.
Yeah.
Which is what they call the alternative society, or sociedade alternativa in Portuguese.
Yeah, I think they said stuff like that, and I think he said a few things like this in his songs, Raul Seixas, didn't he?
Yeah, he did a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
That's probably subliminally worked its way in.
As a coincidence, I've got like a Black Sabbath
Led Zeppelin
behind me.
Yeah.
No, I think it's time we talk about your English rock and roll favorite stuff.
There's my era. To be honest, it's We'll start with the oldies first. What I find strange is the bands that are more successful or more famous in Brazil aren't necessarily the same as they were in Britain. For example, the Beatles are more popular here and there. In fact, the Beatles are more popular outside of Britain than inside Britain, and that's totally there. Lots of people like them, of course, but it's not quite as fanatic in Britain as it is outside of Britain. Yeah. I've noticed the Kinks aren't even known here, but the Kinks are probably as popular with older people. And for example, I remember I think it was a Christmas Eve with my dad. I'd got back from a pub and he'd put on the best of the Kinks. And I was listening to this and I'm like, there was a couple of songs I knew off the top of my head already. There's Lola and You Really Got Me, which everybody's heard and they're known. Yeah. Every other song apart from these two, I'm like, that's in an advert, that's in an advert, that's in an advert. It's like literally 75% of the music used in adverts on British television is from the Kinks. So this is a band that's even deceptively huge to young British people, but they actually, without them, there'd be no hard rock, heavy metal, punk rock, anything heavier sounding. They became famous just after the Beatles, but they were already a heavy sound. Yeah. This might be a bit controversial to some Beatles fans, but until they started taking LSD and stopped touring and started getting experimental, I didn't think they were outstanding. I think the Kinks were better than them at the start. The Beatles got good halfway through, got really good.
I've got to agree with you. It's the Help Beatles, as I say, they're okay. They're
okay. There wouldn't be legends without Sgt. Pepper's and After. Sgt. Pepper's and After is what made them legends.
Sgt. Pepper's, the White Album. That's where I think like Revolution. That era.
They're the peaks.
I think that's where their geniality comes out. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, George Harrison was a great genius.
Yeah, I think the Beatles would have been better if George Harrison were the main man and Lennon and McCartney were just supporting him. That will annoy a lot of Beatles fans saying something like that, but he was the best.
But to be honest, I actually read somewhere that Paul McCartney said he was very sad that they didn't give enough space to George Harrison.
Yes, that sounds like the kind of thing he'd say. He's a nice guy, Paul McCartney. He's probably I think he's the nicest person in the music industry, just about. He gave away a lot of his money. He's set up, I don't know if you know about it, there's the Performing Arts School in Liverpool. That's Paul McCartney Performing Arts School. He's paid for that out of his own money to provide education and performing arts for people. He's done more for Liverpool than all the other three put together. So I think he's a nice guy out of all of them.
He is. He's definitely the nicest guy. But there are some things about England that people forget in Brazil, like Status Quo. That band is, they're like, have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, I've heard of Status Quo, yeah. I was never into them much, but yeah, they don't exist in Brazil. I'd sort of forgotten they existed a bit. Because you don't hear them here. So the Kinks is probably the best band you don't hear in Brazil. My father-in-law's got a CD that's got Lola on it and a mixture of other old rock songs, but that's the only rock song that's in his only Kink song in his collection, and he's a major rock hero. It took me ages to flick through all these vinyls and CDs to see what's there. Ages.
True.
For example...
Okay, carry on. Carry on.
For example, Led Zeppelin, I think they're more popular in Britain than the Beatles. For me, the miles better than the Beatles. Yeah. The Pink Floyd are strangely more popular in Brazil than they are in Britain. People like them still. They're a quality band, of course. But they're much more popular in Brazil than they are in Britain.
No, I did not realize that. Maybe because all of my friends were like, back when I was in England, most of my friends were kind of they were kind of weird people. So they were really into like progressive rock, like Genesis.
But they have the fans, of course. Yeah, they have the fans, of course, but they're much more popular in Brazil than in Britain. General rule.
Yeah, true.
Trying to think. There's one. The band that did Personal Jesus. What's their name again? I've forgotten them. Depeche Mode. Depeche Mode,
Depeche
much more
Mode.
popular here than there. A lot of the bands from the 80s disappeared off the face of the earth in Britain. But Depeche Mode, it's strange. I don't see the logic of why Depeche Mode are decent. I do like them. But I don't see the logic of why, for example, they're more popular than Led Zeppelin in Brazil or something like that.
No, they're not.
Strange.
No, they're not. No, they're not more popular than Led Zeppelin now. But they are
good. I agree. They're not.
I think they're very close, though.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they're quite recognised here in Brazil too.
Yeah, another one that's quite recognisable. It's a band I'd not actually heard of when I was in Britain. My mind's gone blank. Tears for Fears. I'm not actually old enough to remember their heyday in Britain, which was the 80s. I was born in 1990, so I'm a little too young to remember them releasing CDs. But I'd never heard one of their songs or heard of them before. They're on the radio and stuff here. My in-laws like them. Oh, they're good. But they're not lasted well in Britain.
No, they were quite big in the American and Brazilian markets. I can tell you that. Tears for Fears. I love when they say that. When they say Tears for Fears, it sounds like Tears for Fingers in Portuguese, which is kind of cute little ads.
Yeah. I don't think they're bad or anything like this, but it seems weird that they'd almost disappeared and nobody my age in Britain knows them. People 10, 15 years older than me can remember them releasing songs. But I think it's because they've not done an album while I've been alive, really. Their best work was in the 80s, so I think people maybe don't remember it. One that really shocked me, which I was a bit disappointed about, that I miss hearing randomly, is The Jam or anything by Paul Weller. What I think's obscene. For example, Rod Stewart's famous in Brazil, and I consider him to be a shit Paul Weller. That's how I'd describe him. The guy's completely can't really sing that well. Sometimes has some good session musicians. I saw something about Rock in Rio that was funny. Alceu Valença, really like his stuff, by the way. He was being interviewed, and he didn't know who Rod Stewart was, and I thought, that's funny, yeah. You know what, I only know who he is because he gets rammed in my face. I don't think he's worth remembering. But it's mad. It's like Paul Weller's miles better singer, better songwriter, better musician. Absolutely everything Gareth is diss. I love absolutely everything I'm dissing. What, Rod Stewart's the only person I've dissed.
She's a very close friend of mine, and she really likes most of the stuff you're dissing. Actually, she's being quite honest right there.
I wasn't really dissing anybody but Rod Stewart. I was saying for example, I do actually like Tears for Fears, but I'd not heard them until I'd been to Brazil because they disappeared in Britain. I didn't say they were bad. I said people my age haven't heard them. I stand by what I've said about Rod Stewart. I think it's bizarre that Paul Weller's not famous here, but Rod Stewart is. He's just a different class to him. It seems strange.
True. To be honest, I never cared much about Rod Stewart either. He was just like, he's okay. And I think that's all about it, you know.
One of his most successful songs was actually stolen from a Brazilian as well.
Yeah,
George Benjor's Taj Mahal, which is, well, I'm going to go defend George Benjor here. George Benjor is miles better than Rod Stewart. Miles better.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
His big golfing talent. And yeah, the best song he's come out with is a rip-off of George Benjor. That says what you want about Rod Stewart then, doesn't it? That's case closed.
No, certainly. And what about Brazilian music? Does it actually get to England? Do you think it actually gets to England?
For example, if somebody's old enough to remember, much older than me, so people who remember when Vinicius de Moraes, Tom Jobim were around, Garota de Ipanema was well known the whole world because Vinicius de Moraes spent a lot of time in the USA. Tom Jobim sang Garota de Ipanema. It was Girl in Ipanema when when it was sung in English. I think Vinicius de Moraes translated it. I don't think Frank Sinatra spoke Portuguese sufficiently to do that. But anyway, I've always heard a lot of Frank Sinatra. My grandma was a huge fan of the Rat Pack and so on. So that kind of thing spread bossa nova. Everybody talks about samba. Everyone knows samba exists everywhere. A friend of my dad's before he'd been to Brazil. Now he went to my wedding in Brazil, but he bought George Benjor Taj Mahal in the 70s or whenever it was. He actually went and bought that. He's not normal for all British people. He has very obscure taste in music for a British person sometimes. He likes all the classic rock and blues and stuff. But he'd gone and got a samba record just because I think he likes all sorts. He's well into music. Not everybody knows, but he had that. I remember, I think it was the World Cup Brazil one, 2002. I think Mais was in the charts in Britain.
True,
so
it was.
I knew it was Brazilian. I didn't know it was called Mais Didn't know it was Sergio Mendes at the time. But you go ask anybody in Britain, you play them a bit of that, they'll be like, that's Brazilian. They won't name the song or the artist. Everyone's like, that's what Brazil sounds like, that's Brazilian. When you see a football game in England with Brazil, you'll sometimes hear some samba music over it, or sometimes a bit of bossa nova. I think people saw the Olympics opening ceremony in Brazil and heard some different stuff. I didn't recognise a lot of it. They could have stuck to the old traditional music. That's a bit better than the modern Brazilian music.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And actually, it's funny to mention because I remember that in the closing act of the World Cup of the Olympics in London, they sang always. Eric Idle sang "Always Look at the Bright Side of Life," right?
Yeah, from Life of Brian.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was the best closing act they could ever find. It was absolutely beautiful, with a cannon misfiring, and it was all very, very well choreographed and everything. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a very nice thing.
Yeah. Another thought while it's still in my head. This Christmas, I got a Scottish uncle, and we'd met in Whitby. It's a town in North Yorkshire, seaside town. It's where Dracula was set, where Dracula was written. So we'd gone there, and he knew my wife was Brazilian. And on his phone, he has a lot of bossa nova music, and he has Elis Regina. First thing he said to my wife was, got his phone out and said, "Oh, look at my bossa nova. Look, got Elis Regina here. Look." So there is some people that are really into music, I know. And he was really excited to meet a real Brazilian to show his bossa nova list to.
Yeah, but back when I was in England, I used to live with a family, and few of the members of that family, one of them is actually quite famous. His name is Lee Haskins. He's a world-class boxer. Yeah. And his best mate, which was married to one of my exchange sisters, Stacey, Mark, he's an MMA fighter. And he used to love Brazil because of jiu-jitsu. So he consumed everything Brazil had to offer. So he had he knew Brazilian music, he knew all kinds of stuff. He also had a few Brazilian friends that because I think his coach was Brazilian, and it was kind of
this is awesome. This Sean Beam, that's because he's from Sheffield. I'm from Leeds. It's 40 minutes drive away is where Sean Bean's from, where I'm from. Yeah, our accents are almost identical. Only I die less times than him.
Oh, true. Well, I don't think I've ever died as many times as he did, right?
That's remarkably close. At least I didn't pick somebody from the wrong side of the hill.
Oh, true. And she was going to go like, who am I going to kill in this series? Oh, no, put Sean Bean in. This character's going to die. That's going to be Sean Bean. He looks amazing when he's dying.
Nobody's as good at dying as Sean Bean, nobody.
He's, the people have best sides. Like, take a picture from my best side. Well, Sean Bean's best side is dead. So I think that's why they do it. Yeah, I think they do.
R.I.P. got.
Oh, Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones has gone.
Yeah, true. Thank God.
Ah.
But I was going to ask you something. Oh yeah, I was just going to comment that on the fact that in Brazil, to change an accent, you had to drive like at least 3 hours to get a different accent in Brazil. But in England, if you drive half an hour, maybe 1 hour, you're in a completely different area.
Yeah.
Like back when I lived in Bristol, they had one accent, and if I took the train over to Exeter, it was just like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. It's completely different, and I was just like.
Yeah. Sean Bean vibe. He's an actor from Yorkshire. Yeah. 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 What was it you were going to ask? What's Restange?
I don't even remember anymore. I was just saying, there we are.
Yeah, what happens is it was an hour, so I think it cuts.
Okay, no problem, mate.
Yeah. It was to reconnect to conclude properly. It's on Instagram Live now, the rest. So people can watch again.
Yeah, if they want to see us rambling about life and music.
Yeah. And Sean Bean in the end.
Oh,
that was a different one. Yeah, this is.
Did you realize? Did you pay close attention enough to see that as soon as we mentioned Sean Bean, you just died?
Yeah, that's what it is. Don't mention Sean Bean; it lets you do more in an hour. I'm guessing. I think that's.
Oh, true. There's probably a limit. There's probably a limit.
Yeah, I think it's an hour limit, and I didn't notice it was going to stop, and then it just stopped. It's supposed to plan to finish properly.
True. We didn't even see the time passing, did we?
No, that's what happens. Well, we got apart from the chunk in the middle that got a bit frozen up. I think.
True.
Time flies when you're having fun, as they say.
Oh, true. Definitely. Most definitely. Anyways, you told me you played rugby, right?
Yeah, I did once upon a time. What about you?
I did too. That's why I put on this shirt.
Which team was that?
This is St. Bernadette's Old Boys. This is where I played my first match ever. This is where I learned.
Where is that club?
It's in Bristol. It's just a local neighborhood team. It's not anything big by far. Yeah. It's just where I learned about rugby the first time, and I fell in love with it. I still follow.
Yeah, what position did you play?
I played in 3 different positions. I played as a scrum half, fly half, and fullback.